We wrote the first check when it generally looked like just another crowded HR software play. On paper, nothing special. What convinced us wasn't the market or the deck or the pitch, it was founders, how they operate, right? The speed at which they were shipping, talking to customers. So that's the pattern that we are always trying to catch early. Conviction before the crowd shows up, I would say.
Welcome to another edition of the Sourcing Stack. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Edgar Vicente, founding partner at Enzo Ventures, an early-stage venture capital firm that's backing Europe's next generation of founders before the rest of the market catches on. Based in Madrid, Enzo has built a strong reputation for writing the very first check into ambitious founders across Southern Europe. Their portfolio already includes companies like Orbio AI, Murphy AI, Herpes, Naloco, Operai, and many more that are rapidly becoming category leaders. What makes Enzo particularly interesting is their philosophy. They don't chase trends or wait for traction. They back exceptional people at day zero and stay with them throughout the journey. Edgar, it's a pleasure to have you on the Sourcing Stack. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure is mine.
Great. So I want to touch upon a few topics related to your fund thesis on AI and the suggestions about the founders. So let's start with the podcast questions. Enzo's tagline is "We invest in founders before the world knows their name." What do you consistently see in founders that others tend to overlook?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, I would say three things keep showing up. So the first one is obsession with a specific problem, like not for AI for X as a category, but someone who's generally irritated by one narrow, ugly problem and can't stop thinking about it, right? That obsession is what gets them through the first, 18 months when everything is on fire. Second is international global mindset. That's very important for us from day one. I mean, even if they are raising or sitting in Madrid or Milan, they are thinking about how this works in the US and in Asia, for instance, right? They are not building a Spanish company or an Italian company. They are building a global one that happens to start here, right? And the third thing is and this one, become almost not negotiable for me, is speed of iteration, right? Speed of iteration for me, it's really important. How fast do they ship, get feedback, and change their mind, right? So at pre-seed, you have almost, I would say, no data. The only asset in the company is the team, right? And so the only real signal is watching how quickly a team learns and adapts in real time. So I think that founders who combine those three things, like deep obsession, global ambition, and fast iteration, I think that are the ones that we chase.
Great. That's very interesting because those are qualities that don't always show up in a pitch deck or a financial model, right?
Exactly.
Obsession gives founders the resilience to keep going when things get difficult. When a global mindset allows them to build businesses that can scale for far beyond their home market. Now, how do you identify these founders? Like, do you have a network, or do you collaborate with some universities or accelerators or incubation programs or cells?
Yeah, so that's the gold question, the key thing, right? So we have like different sources, different channels. So the first one is our, I would say, strongest asset, which is our operating partners network. So we build up from scratch a very decent and diversified and qualitative network of professionals and individuals that they used to invest as an angel, right? In different geographies and different markets. And they bring us like a qualitative deal flow that they are looking at, and we decide whether or not we invest in the company, right? So we have like 35 people, chasing deals and referring them to us. The second one, obviously, we stay close to universities, to important hubs, to the ecosystem itself, right? And we get deals out of it. And the third one, I would say, is our personal network that compounds over the time, right? So it's not the same when we start, like 3-4 years back, that we didn't have anything in terms of network. We didn't know anyone almost in the ecosystem, compared with the current moment that we are living right now, that in Fund 1, we demonstrated some track record, great investment, so on and so forth. And these newborn founders really want to start working with us from the very beginning. So we start receiving a lot of organic deal flow thanks to this compounding effect from Fund 1 to the second fund, right? So I think the bank compounds itself, as I said, and now we are receiving a lot of deal flow from other GPs, other newborn founders that really want to start working with us, and yeah, I would say these three channels. Mm-hmm.
Great. Southern Europe has become a major focus for Enzo. Why do you believe this region producing some of Europe's most exciting startups today?
So look, the talent was always here, right? That was never the issue. What changed is that capital and conviction have finally caught up, right? So 10 years ago, if you were an ambitious founder in Barcelona or Milan, for instance, you basically had to move to London, to Berlin, or to Paris, to get taken seriously, or to raise a real check, for instance, right, from other funds. That's just not true anymore. So that's completely changed, right? There's another generation of investors, for instance, us included, right, who actually believe origin doesn't matter. And what matters is what you can build something global, right? So that's the main thing. So, and once a few of these companies starts breaking out, it creates this flywheel, right? Better founders, more capital comes in, and the ecosystem itself compounds. So I think that, Southern Europe is living a gold age, and the alpha is actually here when it comes to Europe.
Right. That's a very interesting perspective. The talent was always there, but without access to capital, many of those ambitious founders remained local. Yeah,
exactly.
Founders have both world-class talent and much stronger funding ecosystem behind them. I think Southern Europe will flourish as the other virtual regions within Europe. Great. Now, AI has clearly become a big part of your portfolio with companies like Orbio and Murphy. As an early stage investor, what separates AI companies that are building lasting businesses from those simply riding the hype?
Yeah, that's a great one. So for me, it's whether AI is the actual product or just the pitch, right? It changed a lot. So much of what we see is basically a wrapper with AI writing on the slides because that's what's getting attention right now. So, but what we look for instead is, does this solve a real problem? Kind of boring, expensive problem, long before that existed ChatGPT? That's the main question, right? Or for instance, is an example. So when we were back then, nobody was excited about AI native HR tools, so it wasn't sexy, but the team understood, the actual workflow pain so deeply that the AI became, I would say, almost invisible, right, in the pitch itself.
Right.
So the AI just made the product better. So that's the tell. If you take away the AI buzzword and the business still makes sense, in our opinion, it's real and it has value, right? So we are looking to these things, basically.
Right. I agree with you. AI itself isn't the product, it's simply the technology.
Yeah.
Great. Now, you often write the very first check into founders. Can you share a story behind one investment where your conviction came well before there was any traction or consensus?
Yeah, I could pick two of them, like Orbio or Morphe, but I will go with Orbio, for instance. Right? We wrote the first check when it generally looked like just another crowded HR software play, right? On paper, nothing special. But what convinced us wasn't the market or the deck or the pitch. It was like the founders, how they operate, right? The speed at which they were shipping, talking to customers, and of course, it was like completely different, right? From everyone else. We were sitting that month, I remember. There was not consensus around it, no other investor circling, and now they've raised a 21 million Series A led by Edon Capital 2 months ago, and they are closing in on 10 million ARR this first year. So that's the pattern that we are always trying to catch early. Conviction before the crowd shows up, I would say. That's the kind of company that we are looking at.
Right. Great example of what early stage investing is really about. At this stage, there are very few metrics to rely on. Right. Instead, you are evaluating how founders think, how quickly they learn, they act, and how relentlessly they engage with their customers. Very, very interesting perspective.
Exactly.
Great. As AI makes building products easier, what do you think becomes the most the real moat for startups over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so that's a great one. This one I feel strongly about. So I think the most shifts to two things, right? Distribution and proprietary know-how, right? Especially niche industries. So because here's the thing, if AI makes it trivial to spin out a product, then the product itself stops being defensible. That's true, right? So what becomes defensible is who owns this customer relationship and the data loop, right? That's really, really interesting. And this is the part people underestimate. That being said, this could be applied to manufacturing as an example, right? Vertical AI in manufacturing isn't just add like an LLM to a factory dashboard, right? You need to actually understand the process, the specific machinery, the specific failure mode, the specific regulatory constraints of that industry, so on and so forth. That kind of proprietary hard-won domain knowledge becomes the real mode. Because it's that thing. It's these two things that I can say, right? Distribution, the speed of distribution, the go-to-market, and then this proprietary data, this proprietary know-how on a specific field, very tough field. That's the real mode.
Right. Interesting. Now, beyond capital, what are the biggest ways Enzo helps founders during those difficult first 12 to 18 months?
So yeah, honestly, the biggest one is just being a real tough partner in moments about the LCs. So like the classical example, right? The 11 p.m. message about like a founder conflict, the term sheet that looks amazing, but has a clause that will bite you in 2 years, like something like that, right? So beyond that, our LP base is generally useful, right? So we got operators, family office, entrepreneurs who actually build and sell companies, not just capital allocators, sorry. So when a founder needs an intro to someone who solved this exit problem they are looking for, we try to put them in touch. So that's the real value of Enzo, right? We put our personal network of the team to their disposal, to their founders' disposal, right? we are working reactively for them when they're needed. So that's a bit the value that we provide from 0 to 1.
Great. That's a very interesting quality. I don't know. You answer messages at 11 p.m. of a founder?
Yeah, even later. Yeah.
Very interesting. That's something founders often actually want. Capital gets you started, but building a company is full of difficult decisions where experience matters, right? Just as much. Having an investor who is consistently available to brainstorm, challenge your thinking, or simply help you navigate tough moments can become a really competitive advantage during those early years. Excellent. Now, moving on to the next question, like looking at today's founders, what's one trait that has become significantly more important than it was 5 years ago?
So, in my opinion, it's the speed of judgment for sure. So everything moves faster now. Markets, technology, AI, compressing what used to take a team of 10 engineers 6 months into something that 2 people ship in a weekend, right? So the founders who win aren't necessarily the smartest person in the room. They are the ones who can make a good decision quickly, act on it, and change their mind without ego if that's wrong, right? 5 years ago, you had more runway to be slow and careful. And, I think that today, if you stop and you go slowly, you are completely dead.
Right. 5 years ago, founders had more time to analyze and iterate.
Yeah.
Today, technology, customer expectations, and market evolved so quickly that waiting for perfect information can be more dangerous than making an imperfect decision, I would say. Yeah, interesting.
Exactly.
Now, if you had to place one bold bet on where Europe's next billion-dollar company will emerge, what sector or opportunity would you choose?
I think $1 billion is not the benchmark anymore. I think it's 10 million nowadays. But I would bet on AI applied on glamorous, regulated, high friction industries like manufacturing, industrial software, logistics, healthcare, whatever. So I think that nobody in Silicon Valley wants to build these things. So I think that it's on us. So Europe, especially Southern Europe, has decades of like deep industrial expertise, for instance. Combine that domain knowledge with AI, and you will get something generally hard to copy. So I think that we have to be focused on this B2B, deep knowledge companies, which is exactly the kind of companies that becomes a category leader instead of a feature, right? So I think that in Europe, we have the advantage to create these kind of companies instead of more generalistic ones that are reserved for the US, in my opinion.
Right. I like that perspective because it challenges one of the biggest assumptions in venture, that success is only measured by billion-dollar valuations. Building a great company is about creating lasting value, not chasing a headline number. Interesting perspective. Edgar, what's a common misconception founders have about raising a pre-seed round that you wish would disappear?
Yeah, that's a great one. So I think it's all about the deck. So founders spend weeks polishing slides when really at pre-seed, we are not evaluating a business plan or a fancy deck, right? In fact, there's nothing to evaluate yet. What we're actually trying to figure out is why you, first off, specifically out of everyone on the earth, why you are the right person to solve this problem, and why now, right? Why now is the perfect time, the perfect momentum to carry this out. Founders who led with that clarity, even with an ugly deck, beat founders with a beautiful deck and no clear answers to why you have to transmit me your vision, your passion, and your hungry, right? And your global ambition That's the only thing that we are looking for.
Right. That's reassuring for a lot of founders. It's easy to believe that raising capital is all about building the perfect pitch deck, when in reality, investors are trying to understand something much deeper, like why you're the right person to solve this problem and why now. Great perspective. Finally, if we are sitting here 5 years from now, what would you or what would have to happen for you to say, this is exactly the kind of venture firm we set out to build?
Yeah, good question. For me, it's simple, right? If a handful of founders that we back at day zero have become, the reference companies of Southern Europe or Europe overall in technology. Not because we got lucky, which is really common in some firms, on one outlier, but because the model works and the model actually repeated. Because backing obsessed, global-minded, fast-moving founders early across the region work again and again. That's the whole bet behind Enzo, right? We're betting on the region, we're betting on talent, and we have to find this repeated, machine. And that would be our product market fit at the end. Okay.
Great. Edgar, this has been a fascinating conversation. We spoke about what truly sets exceptional founders apart, why Southern Europe is emerging as one of Europe's most exciting innovation hubs, how AI is changing the way investors evaluate businesses, and why building a great company is ultimately about solving real problem, not just chasing valuations. Thank you for sharing your insights and for giving us a glimpse of how Enzo Ventures think about backing founders before the rest of the world discovers them. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on another episode of The Sourcing Stack. If you've enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to like and share it with your network. We will be back soon with another investor shaping the future of innovation. Until then, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Vinay. Thank you.